Welcome to the show. The next time you will hear from any of us on the flip side, America will have sealed its fate and elected new members to governments all across the nation. Tonight we have Aaron Petterenetz, who is the co-chair of the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. Aaron will be joining us for the national and local discussions. Henry, do you have any insight on what might come about on Election Day?
Well, I think half of the American public is going to be extremely disappointed in what the results are going to be, whether it be Hillary supporters or Trump supporters or those that are in the majority supporting a third-party candidate. Someone asked me what my take was on this. Is before everything broke loose with James Comey opening up the email and revisiting the case on Hillary. I said I felt it's going to be Trump plus 4% in the overall vote. Now, whether that's going to come to fruition, I don't know, but I think it's going to be interesting. And actually, I brought a coin for Ron to toss up and decide who's going to win the election there. So anyway, it has Trump on one side and Hillary on the other. But when we get down to the Maryland race, Ron, this may be the safer coin to toss up. Okay.
All Hillary?
It's a double-sided Hillary coin because Maryland's a foregone conclusion. But I think Ron probably has some thoughts on the national.
I think as you go national, Washington County will go Trump. Washington County will go Kathy Salega. And I think Washington County will go Amy Holber.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I've had a chance to meet her on several different occasions, but I see that happening here. Very few times do we ever pick, and I want you to listen to my words carefully, does Washington County ever pick a national or state winner? So, and I think in this case, I appreciate these kind of things, and it is fun. I just hope on November the 9th, we can start bringing things together. And this community's got to start itself coming together, which we'll talk about later.
Right, when we get down to the local.
Mm-hmm. Danielle, what are your thoughts?
Well, I wanted to share a sentiment from my son last night that we were again having our car conversations about the elections, and he said, I wonder what this race would look like if there was any other Republican running other than Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And I think it does come down to, again, just the personalities of voters that we're dealing with. And the truth of it is, too, is what is going to happen with the electoral votes. Mm-hmm. You can narrow it down to counties and whatnot, but that's really where it's going to go. Trump has big promises to hold up, in my opinion. This has been a bad week for Hillary as far as her dishonest portrayal and the email scandal opening back up again. That's where I'm at. If I had to flip a coin, I'm going Trump.
For Maryland or the whole thing?
For all of the whole thing.
The whole shebang,
yeah,
right?
The whole shebang.
It's sort of unfortunate for conservative or Republican voters in Maryland because I feel like it just is always Democrat. So sometimes I feel like, the Republican voice is drowned out. What do you think, Aaron?
To that point, I think that that actually frees up your vote in Maryland for something like a third party. If you're voting for the Democratic nominee in the national elections, Maryland goes Democratic nominee all the time. But if you're voting for anyone else, that vote actually can matter and bring major party status to either Libertarian Party or Green Party. And it's a unique opportunity where in battleground states every vote matters and every vote counts, mm-hmm. and so it does limit your flexibility there.
No, that's a really good point. So if you had to predict the outcome, what would you say at this point?
Now, I think Trump's going to win. I was leaning Hillary a week ago, so we'll see.
So you just in general, you were leaning Hillary?
Not personally.
Okay, I was going to say, wait a second. Hold up now. I'm just kidding. No, that's interesting.
But a question I have is for the people who supported Bernie. They've been sort of run over several times through the email cycles. Okay, where do they fall in? When we're all said and done, do the Bernie supporters show up and vote Hillary? Do they stay home and not cast a vote?
I think that they will go out for Hillary and that they will go out and vote for Hillary. And I know this is the best gauge to go by, but I have a lot of friends who either from college or high school that are they were leaning towards Bernie Sanders, even some that were all in for Bernie Sanders, and they've, they were speaking out against Hillary in the primaries, and then once Hillary got the nomination, they kind of just basically came out and said, you know what, I guess I'll just vote for Hillary, because they're going to vote with the party line. They're not going to come out. I mean, they would never vote for Donald Trump, especially with all of his comments about women. So, I think at the end of the day, they're going to come out for Hillary, and as unfortunate as that may be.
Everybody's pretty much made a prediction. I'm going to call Hillary Clinton to win. I think between now and next Tuesday, there's going to be a meeting of the minds with your own mind. While I've heard repeatedly crooked Hillary and lying Ted and all these different things. I've never seen a person that's told any more lies, any more falsehoods.
Except for the person on the other side.
Right.
Well, I'm looking at that side. And hearing that, hearing you have a candidate here, that those of you that support Trump, that you have no clue where he stands. You have no clue what's in his taxes. You have no clue what he's done with Russia. You have no clue about the hacked emails that's come out by WikiLeaks, who's controlled them, whether it's been espionage involved or not. That will come out. Mm-hmm. The day will come out when WikiLeaks and some of these other organizations that drop these bombshells at the last minute, you will ultimately find out that there's a lot of crookedness on both sides, and one side's been painted with it, the other side has been Teflon.
Do you think that's going to come out before Election Day?
I think drips and drabs will come out, but I think the American people will pretty much figure it out themselves between now and then. I think one candidate you can afford to have, and the other candidate, I'm not sure the country can afford the other candidate.
I'd like to point out that there's only one candidate among the 4 presidential candidates that's not currently under investigation by any body.
Well, but that's not true. That's not true.
There is.
No, that's not true. Trump is under several investigations.
Correct.
No,
He's the
okay.
one of the 4.
Yeah.
Jill Stein, Donald
Yeah.
Trump, and Hillary Clinton are all under investigation for something. And Gary Johnson is the only one that's not under
Yeah,
investigation.
but he still needs to go back to world geography class. He forgot where the things were.
11. I mean, he didn't even know where 11
But, we have other candidates in national campaigns. For Maryland, we have Chris Van Hollen, okay? And it looks like he will actually be bumping out the only viable female candidate that we have to represent us in the state of Maryland. Because, obviously, Miss Flowers, I think that's her name, who's the other candidate running. She has not an ice cube's chance to win the vote. But for the first time in many decades, Maryland will have a female representing us down in D.C. So, Ron, you probably know Chris Van Hollen at some point during your...
I know Chris Van Hollen extremely well. I've been with Chris Van Hollen many times, clear back into the House and then the Senate in the state of Maryland. I just was with him at a ceremony at Rotary Park. Well, I'm at a Rotary Park on Northern Avenue just a couple of months ago, and he's a good guy. He beat Donna Edwards in the primary, and I was also the chair of the Political Action Committee for Realtors years ago, and we supported Van Hollen and didn't support Edwards over Congressman Wynn then. So but they will win up here.
Well, they will.
Yeah, they will win up here.
Kathy Zazlega, I think she's run a good campaign, but she's fighting the uphill battle.
Yes.
And, it's just the fact that we're not going to have any female representation in D.C. If we want to talk about it, I think that's one of the interesting topics for the state of Maryland, being so progressive as we are, and we have no female representation.
Well, what I think is interesting is, yes, Maryland is very liberal and just has been for a long time, but both for the representative in Congress and for the Senate, the Republican candidate is a woman for both, which I think is kind of interesting because typically it seems like women are associated with being, more Democratic leaning, more liberal leaning, but I think that's kind of interesting, even though I don't think either one of them will win. I still think it's interesting.
Now, you make an interesting comment. You say Maryland is a liberal state. 3 counties in Maryland are liberal. The rest of the counties in Maryland, on the Eastern Shore, Southern Maryland, and Western Maryland, are not liberal.
Yeah,
They're
but
all
the
it's all
ones that are
population
Democratic
driven.
are populated,
But if
heavily
you look,
populated, right?
Who's your governor?
My,
It's a
my
Republican.
governor. Well, yeah.
Okay, he's a Republican. Ehrlich has been there as a Republican as well in the last 12 years.
Yes.
So the state leans to who's going to get the job done. I was not a supporter of Brown. I just didn't think he brought to the table what needed to be brought to the table to lead the state of Maryland.
But that goes to the point. Okay, we have Ami Hober. If she was running in what was Roscoe's Bartlett's district, she would be winning hands down. But because of the democratically controlled state house and the way the districts have been gerrymandered, it pretty much precludes anyone except for a Democrat winning this district now.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's the way
Seriously.
it's the way it's the way the cookie crumbles.
For business. For business.
For as a business person, I'd rather see a Republican in over having a Democrat in. It's just because they're more in tune with what it takes to make a dollar. And I'm not besmirching John Delaney. I know he has a pedigree there. Okay, but at the same point, the liberal tax and spend, we pay enough taxes in the state, and I don't think we need to further that down in D.C.
Well, with John Delaney has a proven track record. John Delaney's created jobs. John Delaney has done a lot to bring the business community together, and that's what gets me sometimes. We have to say a Republican can run it and a Democrat can't.
Right.
Well, with that philosophy, that's what gets you into a turmoil that creates some of the divisiveness that we experience.
Well, we haven't reached across the aisle.
Well, to John Delaney's credit, his campaign has focused strictly on getting things done, creating jobs, and he's pushed that message the entire way. And that's why he has the inroads that he has in right-leaning counties.
Yes.
For sure. Well, we've got a lot more to cover in this week's election update, so stay tuned.